Hello everyone, long time no see. Yes, Formula One is finally back after another break. I know these breaks are getting absolutely ridiculous. I'll tell you something which is my observation, okay? Hardcore fans like us, we kind of think about Formula One even in the off season, right? But most average F1 fans or F1 watchers, they do not think about F1 when it is not on. So out of sight, out of mind. So anytime I post content during a race weekend, it gets a lot of engagement. But just before the race weekend, it does not get any views, but that's absolutely fine. You guys are watching, you guys are the hardcore Formula One fans, I know. So welcome back to the channel. And before we move ahead, I also want to mention one more thing. Last time when I made this video, we were just below 5k. So I had mentioned in the video, subscribe and we might eventually hit 5k, and we hit 5k in less than an hour. Actually, the minute the video went live, I think every one of you hit subscribe. So we are now a little over 5k. Thank you so much for your support. It has been incredible. Over the last few weeks, I had kept when the video went live, I had just kept refreshing to see when we will cross 5k, and we have successfully crossed. So thank you so much for your support. My job is to make this video series a lot more interesting so that you will continue to watch, and I'm still not monetized yet. Hopefully that will also happen very soon. So that is my next benchmark. Over the last 1.5 years of making content, not 1 year and 3 months, I think, of making content, I have not made a single rupee, except for like 1 or 2 brand collaborations here and there. Like, that's about it, right? So I do this out of passion for this sport. So hopefully it kind of gives me something in back. It will never balance out the time and effort, but some kind of monetary rewards will also be good for us. So yeah, hopefully the next milestone is when we get monetized. I also want to mention one more thing before we start talking about Canada. By the time this video is up, our visit to the Budh International Circuit will also be up on the GeoTV. There is a small documentary that they have done. It's a 20-30 minute documentary. It's about Karun Chandok taking a lap around the Budh International Circuit, and it is the documentary is written from the POV of the Chandoks, his father and his brother. But in a very specific scene, you can catch yours truly is standing in the background. So go watch it. If I find a link, I will put the link in the description. Go watch it and screenshot where I show up and then tag me if you find it. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the Canadian GP weekend preview. Okay, first things first, Montreal is known for its amazingly unpredictable weather. In fact, 2024 was a wet race. It was won by Max Verstappen, and this year it has been predicted to be extremely cloudy, especially on the Sunday, and there is a high chance of rain on Sunday evening as per the local time. See, which is 4 p.m.-ish is when the rain is expected, and 4 p.m. is the race start time at Montreal as well. See, in Miami, we were also supposed to get rain, but FIA did us a solid. They ended up preponing the race by 3 hours. So we got to watch the race at 10 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. But it never rained. See, FIA made all of this jazz and they kind of ruined a wet race. They are scared of having wet races almost, but it never rained even at the time it was predicted to rain. So this is still a weather prediction. We are not very sure if it will rain, but imagine if we had a wet race. These regulations are yet to see a proper wet race. I want to know how these cars behave in the wets, because the tires are a lot slimmer, which means even with wet tires, the grip is a lot less. So yeah, wet race would be interesting, but let's hope so. I'm not keeping my hopes high, but just saying that there is a chance of a wet race. Another hot topic that was brewing through the week was the curse of number 3. Max Verstappen is cursed. Okay, let me rephrase it. Number 3 is a cursed number, and Daniel Ricciardo fell victim to it. And now Max Verstappen has also inherited the curse. This is Max Verstappen's year in 2026. Okay. Australian GP, his car crashes in qualifying. In Q1, he finishes 6th, but that is nothing compared to his standards. Chinese GP, he DNF'd, his car had to be retired. NLS2, he went on to next and loses the win because one of the team members used an extra set of tires during practice or qualifying, so he gets disqualified for that. Japanese GP, he finished 8th. NLS 5, he finished 39th due to some car repairs. Then there's Miami GP, spun in the lap 1, and his highest finish in this season was P5 at Miami. And Nürburgring 24 hours. Oh my god, he led the race for 21 hours out of the 24, and they had to retire the car. They had to take the car back in because it developed a mechanical problem. How unlucky is that? Luck is not lucking for him. But on the optimistic side of things, I believe that he has exhausted all his bad luck in the beginning of the year. So his rest of the year, he's going to come back with a vengeance. Lewis and Michael Schumacher have the most number of wins in Canada. They both have 7 each. But Max is not far off. He had 3 wins in a row, especially in the era where Red Bull dominated in the last 4 years especially. So Canada, contrary to popular opinion, where George Russell is expected to dominate, is also a great place for Max Verstappen to bounce back. Now, speaking of George Russell, he also has been having a bit of bad luck. Yes, let's talk about George Russell. I know his luck isn't as terrible as Max, but come on, he's being beaten by a teenager 3 races in a row. 2 of them were not his fault. It was just pure bad luck. Miami was kind of his fault because he started the weekend saying it is not his best track. Until Miami, McLaren hadn't even turned up to half the races. So he missed the podium twice when his teammate went on to win. So it is not really looking good for him. Listen, he's known as Mr. Consistent, and the meme does nothing, gets P3 exists for a reason. Okay, he's not a bad driver. Till now, he's not had the championship pressure on him, and boy, that's a different kind of pressure to have. Look what happened to Oscar Piastri last year, right? Like he was winning, he was ahead by half the season, but eventually the pressure just got to him, and a little bit of papaya rules also ruined it for him. George Russell also in the break went on to make a couple of weird statements. He said if he had joined Formula One a few years back, he would have had a couple of world championship titles already under him. I mean, what a load of bullshit. Like if my mom had balls, she'd be my dad. What do you mean, like, you will have a few world championships by now? See, the opportunity is now. You have a championship winning car now, and you basically have a teenager who you are expected to babysit. People can't give this on a platter any better. After 6 years in the sport, after paying your dues at Williams and Mercedes, and even beating a 7-time world champion in the same machinery, I think it's very fair for us to expect that we need more from him, and a teenager cannot be leading the championship that easily. He needs to give a little more fight. He is expected to be a team leader, not get schooled by a teammate who cannot drink the champagne that is given on the podium because he's not of the legal drinking age in most of the countries. Come on, George, lock in. It's also not like his contract is safe and intact. Toto last year didn't even give him a 2-year extension. They basically gave him a 1-year extension, and that's it. Toto at this point isn't thinking who is the driver who can get the best out of the car. He's thinking which driver deserves to win a championship with my car. So he is thinking who's the next big driver on the grid who can win multiple championships and dominate the next few seasons. He's not looking at one season. In the beginning of the season only, if you're crumbling to a teenager, that does not give a lot of confidence for Toto, especially when your contract isn't intact. See, I know this is too early in the championship and the rivals can catch up, but we have seen this playbook in the past. Mercedes aren't a badly managed team at all. Toto runs a tight ship over there. So if they start on the right foot, it will definitely take years for the rivals to catch up, even with all of these cost cap relaxations and ADO rules, right? So this race, all eyes are going to be on George. He needs a win. He needs a bare minimum win for the morale and closing the gap to Kimi. He just needs to do his bit, okay? He just needs to do the best he can. Don't make any drastic changes and he should be fine. No changes in approach. But you know who has changed his approach for Canada? Sir Lewis the GOAT Hamilton. So Ferrari brought 11 upgrades to Miami. Unfortunately, they forgot to put all the 11 updates on, it looks like. Because what was that result? it looked like they had made no progress. See, Miami could be considered a one-off because Lewis had damage from early on and Leclerc made like human mistakes, right? He spun. Either the upgrades were so minor and helped with reliability more than the pace, or the upgrades were not fully done. So we'll talk about upgrades in the second half of the video, but my God, Ferrari, it makes it very hard to like them as a team. There is never a race where everything went right for them. Like, even if one driver wins, the other driver has a horrible time. But having said all of that, I have to admit that Ferrari have tried so many new things that are actually nice to see. They had the Macarena wing, the flap in the tailpiece. There was a small flap in the halo as well, which McLaren have tried to copy again. All of this is good, but the best thing they had brought this year was the updates they brought to the turbo, which helped them with their race starts. But again, reports have suggested that the flap might be banned next season, and with the changes in the regulations next year, even that the race start advantage that they have will go away, which is just the worst of luck. But again, we have a solution for all of these kind of issues that is caused by Ferrari. It is called antidepressant medication. We have a long season ahead. Slowly we can increase the dosage if it gets worse for Ferrari. But yeah, that's looking like the only solution. Also, one more thing. RCB won the league last year. Arsenal won it this year. So Ferrari is the only remaining red color team that hasn't won anything since 2008. Yeah. So maybe next year is the year. Let's also talk about a little bit of the rest of the grid. Speaking of a team that hasn't won since 2008, I want to talk about a team that hasn't won since 1990s, which is Williams. For a team that has focused so much on 2026, from 2024, it has been like disappointing to say the least. The third slowest car is not what we expected, especially when you consider they have the fastest power unit in their car. I think once the upgrades start coming in, they will do just fine. But let's not forget they are a works team, okay? Works team with arguably the best engine on the grid. So I do think it's just a matter of time till James Vowles figures the whole team out. Aston Martin also have some interesting updates. As per Kyle Illman, the photographer and the content creator who goes around every race and clicks pictures and does really good content, he found a plaque which said Jonathan Wheatley, Aston Martin. See, Jonathan Wheatley is Audi's ex-team principal who just resigned a couple of months back, and we immediately expected him to move to Aston, but then there has been radio silence. Suddenly we find this written somewhere in the paddock. So I think a new team principal announcement is expected this weekend. Also, that team definitely needs a leader, not a designer. As per internal reports, Aston Martin's upgrades should start flowing in by the time race 14-15. They will be consistently in Q2 and Q3. That is the expectation. I think the team is working really hard. I don't know if Alonso will continue to be in the sport because he just looks depressed. I think he's given up all hope. But again, I would love to see Alonso one more year at least to have a decent car and get back on the podium at least once. But that looks highly unlikely for now. Speaking of drivers who might retire, there were plenty of driver rumors that were going on through the two breaks that we had. So let's talk about some important driver rumors and if they are true or not. To be honest, after the press conferences, most of these rumors were dismissed. The biggest one, I think, was Ocon being replaced mid-season, and the rumor or the reporter who wrote it as if the team principal Ayo Komatsu was like extremely upset with Ocon and he expected a lot more and Ocon might lose his seat. In fact, it's not just Ocon who has come out and called it bullshit, but the team principal of Haas, Ayo Komatsu, also came out and apparently he swore 17 times when he gave the report back, saying that's utter bullshit. We've not even had a fight with Ocon. So that is pure not even speculation. That is just like, rubbish that was written by some journalist, I think. So that was one rumor, big rumor that got dismissed. The second big rumor was Lewis Hamilton retiring and the announcement coming in Silverstone. That was dismissed in the best way possible by Lewis Hamilton, which is he said he's going to be here for several more years, and we are supposed to get used to seeing him a lot more. So that is also a good warm update, I would say. I don't want Lewis to retire. Another big rumor that was going around was Oscar switched to Red Bull, which was also debunked by Oscar himself. He said no talks of any sort has happened, and he was just saying that he was flattered that he was considered. See, my thoughts on Oscar and Lando, they are not going to leave McLaren anytime soon. Again, that's my thing, because that equation with that team is going strong. And obviously with Max going to the Nürburgring and driving a Mercedes AMG GT3 car, a lot of rumors also came out saying Max might move to Mercedes. Let me put my B school, Indian Business School, MBA marketing degree hat on and try to explain this from a pure marketing perspective. Okay, this is my thought process, this is my opinion. Max is too valuable a marketing asset for Red Bull to let him go. See, Mercedes at the end of the day is an automobile manufacturer. They don't treat their drivers like assets. Look what happened to Lewis. I genuinely believe Lewis looked outside of Mercedes because they didn't give him the respect a 7-time world champion should get. Not on track. I'm 100% sure the team respected Lewis, but I'm talking the marketing side and the business side of Mercedes, the non-racing side of Mercedes. He could have been a brand ambassador for Mercedes. He could have become a huge marketing asset for Mercedes, and that's the thing. Red Bull is actually a drinks company that invests heavily on marketing. Max's lifestyle and his attitude and his interests and all his hobbies align with the culture and the values and the persona of Red Bull. Red Bull needs Max a lot more, not just in Formula One, but after Formula One also, for their brand, more than Mercedes, where they might use Max Verstappen to win a few more championships. But after that era is done, after he leaves Formula One, he's going to be a nobody for Mercedes. I personally think Red Bull should and will fight a lot harder to keep Max Verstappen in their team. So he's not going to go anywhere, or all of what I just said is proven wrong with some random announcement one day that he's moving to some other team and I look like an idiot. We will know soon enough if I'm an idiot or not. Now let's look at some of the upgrades teams are bringing into the Canadian GP. Firstly, the headlines: Aston Martin and Ferrari are bringing zero upgrades. Let that sink in first. Like Aston, yeah, I get it. They are working purely on reducing the vibrations and reliability. So no major parts upgrades that I can understand. Ferrari, I think, may have just got all the upgrades in Miami and now they are working on optimizing their upgrades. I think they spent their time fine-tuning the upgrades maybe they bought in Miami. So we'll have to wait and see where they belong on the grid. Mercedes also have brought the biggest set of upgrades, 8 components. This is the first set of upgrades since the first car that came out in Australia. Almost all of them are performance and airflow, aerodynamics related. So they are bringing a very race specific wing as well. McLaren folks have come to Canada with massive upgrades as well. All of them are for performance. Miami upgrades clearly were in the right direction and they secured a double podium as well. So I'm guessing these upgrades are going to get them even more closer to Mercedes, hopefully. Red Bull have bought 4 upgrades focused on reliability more than anything. So there is not going to be any pace advantage that you can see this weekend. Williams, Audi, Haas, Racing Bulls, Alpine, Cadillac, all of them have gotten minor upgrades and all of them are performance upgrades. To see if these upgrades have worked, we have to look at how these cars behave during practice and quali sessions. So let's look at what happened in free practice. Alex Albon started off the session in the wrong foot. He managed to hit animal on track, groundhog. And I think the community has already given the groundhog a name. Rest in peace. Yeah, man is not going to have a car ready for even qualifying. It looks like pretty intense damage. Brought out the red flags. The session also got extended by 15 more minutes because it is going to be the only practice session of the week and the teams will not get enough data. So FIA immediately stepped in and extended the session by 15 minutes. There were lots of folks spinning, crashing, and plenty of red flags, but by the end of the day, Mercedes were on top as usual. Kimi led the session, followed by Russell. Not a huge gap between them though. Also, towards the end, there was another red flag, so a lot of them did not get their final qualifying simulation laps in, so the lap times weren't necessarily indicative. Ferrari were the second fastest team, not bad at all, but we have to look at qualifying to see if the pace actually improved from Miami. Max was at P5, followed by the two McLaren, so these are technically the potential top 8 we were looking at. See, all the paces will be a lot more accurate when we look at a qualifying session. So let's look at how the sprint qualifying session went. So SQ1 red flag towards the end because Fernando Alonso crashed. Albon and Lawson never started the qualifying because their car had issues, and Alonso, even after causing the red flag, had managed to sneak through. Gasly not being in Q2 was the biggest surprise. Williams upgrades look like they are working because Sainz managed to get out of the bottom 6. SQ3, the track was evolving. Drivers kept bettering their lap times, but George was on a league of his own, his favorite circuit, and his third pole here. Kimi wasn't too far off. He was 0.07 seconds behind. That is how close the margin between George and Kimi are right now. The McLarens were the second fastest, locking out the second row. Again, they were overall 0.3 seconds behind the Mercedes team. Ferrari were close to the McLarens, locking out the third row. Lewis has been dominant in Canada ever since forever, I guess. So yeah, he's the lead Ferrari. Then comes Red Bull, locking out the fourth row. Our boy and my new favorite driver on the grid, Arvid Lindblad, is at P9. Man managed to come to SQ3. That is like, yes, let's go. And Sainz from Williams, again, coming in SQ3 and being in the top 10, that is a huge and massive improvement for Williams. So broadly, the upgrades, even though are in the right direction for most of the teams, it hasn't changed the order of the grid much. We will also look at the other qualifying session, the main qualifying for the race, to see if the same pattern emerges, but looks like it's going to be Mercedes, followed by McLaren, Ferrari, and then Red Bull in the top half. So that's it for the weekend review. I know this race weekend is going to be very awkward in terms of timing for us because the race is at 1:30 a.m. But this weekend plus COTA, which is in Texas, the circuit of the Americas, and then there is Brazil. I think these are the only races where we will have these awkward timings going forward. Las Vegas GP will be in America, but because it's a night race for us, it will be in a really good time in the morning. So I think there are only 2 more races where we'll have to stay up late night and watch. The rest of the race weekends will be perfect evening. European races would be all evening races for us, so it'll be a nice chill evening time watching with family and all of that. So yeah, just bear with us for just this one weekend. The rest of the calendar looks sorted. So thank you so much for watching. We will come back here again in a couple of days time and discuss how the race went, what are the greatest moments from the race, what were the surprises, what were the biggest disappointments. All of that we will discuss, and we will also do audience Q&A. So subscribe to me here and follow me on Instagram so that you can ask your questions and we can discuss this in this kind of a format in the next week. Okay, happy race weekend everyone. I will see you all on Sunday and Monday. Stay tuned. Cheers. Bye.